Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Hope you're doing well and having a fantastic day on this beautiful Saturday evening. At least it's evening for me. I hope you're having a great weekend. Whatever you're doing, whatever you have been doing, I hope it's been incredible. And I hope December has been a wonderful month. I mean, we have Avatar Fire and Ash and Avatar From the Ashes. Now, in this video, in case you are unsure, in this video, I'm just gonna explore the world of the Western Frontier. Just basically fly around on my Ikran, not do any specific missions, basically just talk to you guys about Fire and Ash. And it's going to be full spoilers. So just so you are aware, I'm going full spoilers for Avatar Fire and Ash. If you've not yet seen the movie, then I would recommend to click away. Or if you just don't care about spoilers, I guess, then by all means, come and hang out in the chat and talk about Fire and Ash. Yeah, so how is everybody doing? How's everybody doing on this beautiful Saturday evening? Like I said, it is Saturday evening by me, but depending on what time of the day you are watching it, yeah, it's hope everybody's doing fantastic. Callum Smith, you're saying you have to come back on this on Monday after you see the movie. Yes, I would recommend coming back to this because I'm going full spoiler mode in this video. So once again, spoiler warning, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's talk about Avatar Fire and Ash. Full spoilers. Let me know your thoughts in the chat. What you didn't like, what you liked, and some questions that you have about the movie. I will start at the end of the movie and say that one of the things that caught me off guard the most was that last 2 minutes of the movie, man. That bit of Spider going into the spirit world and just seeing all of the characters from specifically from the first Avatar. It just really got to me, especially seeing Tute and Etukan, just seeing them there and seeing Grace. I could feel a tear coming from my eyes, and yeah, that really, really got me emotionally. But then the movie ended in a Google Earth kind of zoom out, which I wasn't the biggest fan of. I was kind of expecting that we would see somebody's eyes open, similarly to the first and second Avatar movie. I didn't think we would see Jake's eyes, so I was kind of expecting to see Loak, or at least considering the movie focused a lot on Spider, it would have been interesting if we saw Spider's eyes open. But we didn't see anybody's eyes open, which I felt was a weird choice considering Avatar 1, 2, and 3 is one saga. I would have thought that they would have wanted to keep that consistency with the way the movies ended, but they didn't. So maybe it's just me, but I just felt that it was kind of a strange choice. Let's go into the chat. Let's see what you guys are saying. Let's go from the top here. Navi Master, you're saying you're disappointed they didn't feature other Mangkwang characters besides Virang. Yeah, I was hoping they would have some. You're talking about the From the Ashes expansion now, which I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to talk about From the Ashes in this video because I want people to play the expansion. It came out yesterday, so I've not finished the expansion, so there's still a lot that I don't know. So I'm not going to talk about the expansion at all. But yeah, they only focus on Virang. I would have wanted to see one or two other minor, like maybe lieutenants or like other Mangkwang characters that could have crossed over with the DLC. To Ninja, you say you're disappointed Spider didn't get his avatar body like Norm in the team could have did something for him. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason for him to get an avatar body now. I thought that he would have maybe gotten an avatar body in Avatar 2, and then that didn't happen, so I thought maybe it would have happened for Avatar 3. But considering he has a Kuru and he can breathe normally now on Pandora, I don't see a reason for him to get an avatar body. So yeah, I don't think that will happen in future movies. Robots, you're saying you wish next movie will be about ice. Yeah, I mean, there's so much about Pandora that we don't know yet. Whoa, come here, Dairos. Come, I want to tame you. Oh my god, no, I don't want to attack these, sorry. I just need to take these out quickly before they kill me. Yeah, can run away. Yeah, I mean, there's so much about Pandora that we don't know. We don't have a world map, as far as I'm aware, like a proper world map, so we will likely, I mean, I can just imagine if we see like a ice world and we see Navi that has like almost like fur on them in a way, like a fur coat, but it's part of their skin. That would be pretty awesome. But yeah, there's still so much we don't know about Pandora. And excuse me, I might cough a bit. I have a little bit of a cold that has built up, so I'm gonna drink water and coffee in between just to not not cough the whole time. So just excuse me about that. War Robot, you also say that's crazy that there will be a 6-year time jump, or 6-year jump from Fire and Ash to the 4th movie. 6-year, you mean the time jump? Because as far as I know, the 4th movie, if it's going to come out, it's still set for 2029. So that's 4 years, but I know the time jump is going to be about 8 years, I believe. But do correct me if I'm wrong on that. Hanhao Riley, you're asking about the DLC. Like I said, I'm not going to discuss the DLC. It is out right now. I've actually got, let me see here. I've actually got the Manquan Ikran here. And I've also got the Manquan Raider override skin for my character, which looks pretty awesome, to be honest. Let's see, let's just zoom out. You can see here the character looks pretty awesome. But yeah, we're not going to talk about the new DLC now. I want to keep that story for another discussion. I want to focus mostly discussion on the movie right now. All right, let's see here. Sorry, I'm just... oh, that was, of course, planned. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm just trying to get... to jump between, because I'm using 2 monitors, so I'm just jumping between the game and the chat quickly. Because it seems if I alt tab here, the game kind of like lags. But anyway, War Robots is saying Kiri as narrator for Avatar 4 will be cool. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that Kiri will be narrator for Avatar 4, considering that she's basically the main focus. She and Spiders and Loak, of course, but she's plays a big role in terms of like what's happening to her character. So she's going to be important going forward. So it does make sense why she would narrate the 4th movie. But it would be a bit strange, though, I think. I mean, I personally, I would have preferred if Jake narrated Avatar 3. Simply because it's one saga, 1, 2, and 3 is a saga, so it would have made sense if Jake finished out the first saga and then it transitioned to Loak. But if Kiri is going to narrate Avatar 4, then I can see Neytiri or maybe even Tuk narrating 5. So yeah, if they're going to change it up every time, then yeah, I could see Neytiri or Tuk doing Avatar 5. Bew, you're saying it was good. Yeah, Avatar Fire and Ash was a fantastic movie. Where it stands in terms of the trilogy for me, I would say I would need to see it maybe once or twice more to really get a full feel for the movie. But as it stands, I would say that it's probably the 3rd one. It'll be, if I had to rank the 3 movies now, I would say Avatar Fire and Ash is number 3, Way of Water is number 2, and the first Avatar is number 1. Doesn't mean Fire and Ash is bad, not at all. I mean, if you have 3 incredible chocolate cakes in front of you, 3 perfect chocolate cakes, and somebody says rank them from best to worst, It doesn't mean the one you ranked at number 3 is a terrible chocolate cake. It just means that it's the one you would least prefer out of the 3, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I would need to watch it a couple of times. There's still a lot to take in. The pacing is probably also a issue for me, because I feel that the movie goes by a lot happens quickly, and I feel that there's just a lot that it jumps from scene to scene quickly, and a lot of characters doesn't really get enough screen time, specifically Parker Selfridge. Dr. Ian Garvin is fantastic in the movie. I mean, he's the one that saves Jake, essentially. But after he saved Jake, he just never shows up again. So, and also feel that the Wind Traders were not in the movie enough at all.
You see that?
Let's go on to the chat here. Jaden Martin says it's one of the more issues. Yes, it's my favorite of the 3. That's fantastic. I mean, if a lot of people say so far that it's the most favorite movie out of the 3, and that's amazing if you feel that way. James Cameron has already said that there's footage cut from the movie, so yeah, I wonder what was cut and if we will get like some sort of director's cut in the future. Axidroid said, can you explain what being a narrator in a movie means? It's just like Jake talks over the first movie, Jake talks over the second movie, and then in the third movie you hear Lowak talks over the movie as the events are unfolding. So in the fourth movie it said that Kiri is going to be the one narrating the movie. Sitch is saying, I'm seeing it for the second time tomorrow. Verang has been absolutely dominating my mind since I saw it on Thursday. Yeah, Verang is incredible. Verang is by far my favorite character in the movie. I think she dominates the screen every time she appears, and you have that feeling of uncertainty. You don't really know what she's going to do when she's on screen. You're always kind of afraid when she's on screen, but I mean, in the end, she did run away when Kiri kind of overpowered her. When Kiri connected her kuru to Verang, she kind of put terror in Verang's face, and then Verang just kind of ran away. So Verang is still alive, and I don't think Quaritch died either. I mean, it's like a movie rule 101. If you don't see the body die, then you shouldn't expect the character to die. And it's already said that Stephen Lang is going to be in all 5 movies, so you know it's a given that he's going to return. And the fact is, or the thing that I'm thinking is, throughout the movie, the big theme is the Ash Clan learning to survive with fire, basically using fire as their power, and Quaritch fell in fire at the end of the movie after spending a lot of time with the Ash Clan. So that indicates to me that maybe they've taught him to use fire to his advantage, or something to that extent. That's just what I'm thinking. Like, okay, but he's been spending time with the Ash Clan, the fire clan, so to speak, and he falls into fire. So maybe Verang was the one to save him at the end. I don't know, but I don't think he died at the end. Jaden Martin, you're saying you really liked seeing Tute and Etukan again. It was as brief as it was. Yes, like I said, the end part really got to me. Those final minutes of the movie, man, that it really got to me. I didn't expect it. I didn't expect to see them. But I absolutely loved the parts that they were in there. All right, let's go to the chat again. I don't know why it does that. Every time I go to the chat, the game kind of like lags. All right, Callum Smith, you said seen a lot of spoilers for this movie, so you're not really bothered. Well, like I said, it's there's still a lot to discover from this movie, so I would be careful when listening to spoiler casts or anything about this movie if you've not yet seen the movie. Nikki Blue Shark says, was in the cinema yesterday with the whole family. Everyone enjoyed it. I loved it, even if it felt a bit rushed. But I don't understand all the negative critiques. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that I've seen that's been talking a bit negative about the movie, and I, of course, have my own problems with the movie as well, but it's not bad. Like, I really, really enjoyed the movie, and I'm definitely going to watch it a couple of more times in the cinema. Sorry, I'm just pouring coffee here, so just excuse me for a second. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's that whole thing about people, I guess, talking badly about Avatar, saying, the movie's going to fail, nobody cares about Avatar, and then, it's the highest grossing movie of all time, and it's the biggest movie of all time. So there's a lot of how do I say this, repeating beats from The Way of Water that's in this movie, to the point where it becomes predictable, very predictable. At one point, I was thinking to myself, are they really doing this again? And it's the part where Loak is in the open ocean looking for Payakan, right? And then he looks down in the water and he sees those jellyfish creatures comes up to attack him. And then he goes into the water where it chases them, and he goes into the rock area to hide. And all of that is beat for beat the way it was in The Way of Water. I mean, he goes down in the water, a creature chases him, he hides in the rocks, that creature eats his weapon, and then as the creature was going to kill him, a tulkun saves him, and then as he's trying to get up out of the water, he runs out of oxygen, he almost drowns, and then he wakes up on a tulkun. All of that happens in The Way of Water, and I'm just thinking to myself, why did they do it? Like, that was the one instance where I was like, okay, they should not have done it like this. They should not have done it beat for beat like this. Like, I don't. If you cut out the whole jellyfish attacking him scene, it would not have added anything besides us knowing the jellyfish creatures are dangerous, but later on Kiri controls them. So that's the only reason why we see the jellyfish creatures. So I feel that they could have done it a little bit differently, because it's very on the nose in terms of what happens to Loak in The Way of Water. Yes, there's a lot of other repeating beats as well, like the tulkuns being hunted, Scoresby being thrown over the boat, the massive ship at the end being destroyed again. And I feel that the factory ship, maybe it's just me, but I feel that the factory ship was a bit underwhelming in the movie. I mean, I expected it to be a bit more impactful, but I feel that almost the Sea Dragon in The Way of Water was more impactful, because the factory ship is there and you see it hunt multiple tulkun. Well, it doesn't hunt the tulkun. It's the Sea Dragon with the RDA soldiers that hunt the tulkun, but it harvests multiple tulkun at once. Yes, that's absolutely terrible, but in terms of its defensive capabilities and what it does, you don't really see that. It just shows up again towards the end. A massive gunship crashes on it, and then it gets pulled up into the Flux Devil. So, and then it gets destroyed. And also, General Ardmore's death was very disappointing. She essentially dies off screen. So I was kind of like thinking, is why they did that? I mean, why didn't they let one of the Na'vi or Jake kill her, or somebody else, or why didn't she get eaten by a tulkun or something else instead of dying off screen? I mean, I also thought at one point maybe Quaritch is the one that's going to kill her, because they had a big argument, and she grounded Quaritch. She was against everything he wanted to do in the end.
Let's stay
So
watchful.
I thought to myself, okay, him coming to rescue the RDA in the end with the Ash Clan, maybe he's going to confront Ardmore and say, like, you know, I don't need you anymore, and just kill her right there. That would have been quite a interesting turn of events. And then he takes over the RDA essentially. All right, let's go back to the chat here. The Lakeman says, I'm from India and we love Avatar a lot, and I'm generally surprised when my audience lost it when Tute showed up. Yeah, I mean, that moment, like I said, it absolutely brought a tears to my eyes when that happened. Let's see here. Sorry, I went a bit way too down with the chat now. Just give me 1 second. So I pressed something and went all the way down now. All right, where was I?
What's down there?
Yeah, Lakeman said, I thought Spider's eyes would open. Yeah, same. I thought maybe Loak's eyes would open, but when it focused on Spider walking in the spirit world, I was like, okay, we're going to do Spider's eyes opening. So he's like, because he's in the spirit world now, so that's going to be an interesting choice. But no, it didn't happen at all. Alexa said, it would have been cool if we saw Sylvanin. Yeah, that would have been really, really awesome. Sylvanin with Tute, that would have been a really, really interesting to see on screen. Bio says or asks, does this mean the storyline with Jake will end? No, as far as I'm aware, Jake and Neytiri has been confirmed for Avatar 4 and 5 as well. So if anything, if we do get Avatar movies beyond that, then that's likely where their story will end. But yeah, we're still getting Jake and Neytiri in Avatar 4 and 5. Just me asking, I missed the first part of this. Will there be replays so I can watch the whole thing? Yes, the live streams normally go up a couple of minutes after they're done. Then you can just watch it afterwards whenever you want to. So it's no problem. Anna Maria asks, I was kind of bummed no one opened their eyes at the end. Yes, again, that was one of my biggest problems of the movie. Despite loving the end part, the final minutes, I was really bummed about the Google Earth kind of zoomed out. It was really great to see Pandora like from a top view, but the fact that we didn't see anybody open their eyes was just a strange choice, considering Avatar 1, 2, and 3 is one saga, and you would think that for the first saga they would kind of have the same consistent ending. All right, let's go on to the chat. Evil Lord Sauron, love the name, says, do you think Quaritch really died? No, I don't think Quaritch died at the end. I think that Virang maybe saved him, and I think that Quaritch is probably going to be spending a lot of time with Virang. It would be interesting if, I said this before, if Quaritch and Virang have children of their own, and in future movies we see those kids, or even if it's one kid or two or three, if they face off against Spider and Kiri, that would be an interesting change or interesting thing going forward. But I mean,
You see that?
we know Quaritch, Stephen Lang has been confirmed for future movies, but I just, as much as I love the fight and the how do I say, the intense battles between Jake and Quaritch, I just wonder if they're going to do Jake and Quaritch again in future movies fighting, because the end of the first Avatar is Jake and Quaritch, the end of the second Avatar is Jake and Quaritch, the end of the third Avatar is Jake and Quaritch again. So if they do it again for the fourth movie, the end fight being Jake and Quaritch one more time, then I feel like, okay, now we are starting to get to the point where it's like, okay, we need to see something new. So I don't know how they're gonna tackle that part, the Jake and Quaritch dynamic, but I can see a possibility where Quaritch and Virang has children, and those children face off against Spider, Kiri, and Tuk in future movies. The Lakeman, you also say Ian Garvin was also left unresolved. Yeah, like I said at the beginning of the stream, Ian Garvin was his turn. I mean, you saw it coming, you saw hints of it in the second Avatar movie where he was already not really liking what the RDA was doing. And I love the fact that he was the one who rescued Jake. But afterwards, he just ran away, and it's just like, okay, but what happened to his character? Did they arrest him? Did they, I don't know, did they execute him? What happened? But nothing. You just see him run off, and nothing happens. The same with Parker. Once his arc was kind of, or once his part was done, we don't see him in the movies. So I feel like that happens to a lot of characters, that once their part is kind of done, you just don't see what happens to them. But speaking of Parker, I do wonder if his dad is the one that runs the RDA. If his dad is like head of RDA. Because Ardmore says, they speak about the man in the chair, and then Ardmore's like, you mean daddy? And I don't know, maybe she was meaning that, you know, Parker's dad is running RDA, and that's maybe why Parker got hired back to come to Pandora. That would be interesting discussion. Starting in space, you say, imagine a Navi with a fluffy tail. Yeah, that would be really awesome if there's like a ice area and we see a Navi with like fluff on them. So I'm trying to go through all of the chat and read everybody's questions. So if you have a question or thought or opinion about the movie, just leave it in the chat and I will get to it as soon as possible. Moonshine, you're saying thoughts on the final scene with Quaritch, Spider, and Jake. I really like that scene. I really like the fight scene. I mean, I feel that it's a continuation of the fight scene from The Way of Water. But like I said earlier, if they do another fight with Quaritch and Jake in the fourth Avatar movie, I hope they don't go there again, because we've seen that now 3 times. But the fight in the Fire and Ash was like a continuation of that. And you do see Quaritch kind of like an arc of him where he really does care about Spider, because he threw himself after Spider despite not knowing if he will if he will survive. So Quaritch kind of risked his life to save Spider. But in the end, Spider chose Jake, and then Quaritch was just like, okay, well, I'm gonna be evil again, and then he jumped off. So I mean, Jake even told him, like, you have a choice. And it would have been interesting if Quaritch chose to try and, you know, see it the way they see it, and then in the fourth movie kind of turn evil again. So then it's like, you know, he's always been evil no matter what, but instead he just jumped off. Or even if I thought about this, it would have been a really interesting scene if Jake pulled Spider and Quaritch up, and then Quaritch told Spider, you know, it's me and you, son. We can leave together. And then Spider looks at Jake, and then Spider says, I already have a dad. And then Quaritch jumps off. Because we know that Spider at one point, when he was almost killed by Jake, called Jake dad. So that would have been nice. Back on the chat, Bio says, I want to know how Neytiri knew who the Mangkwang clan were, since they were isolated from the other tribes. Yeah, that wasn't really explained in the movie. A lot of the Mangkwang clan was explained briefly. What Virang said in the tent was basically what we knew about how they became, but that's pretty much it. We don't really know much else about them. We don't even know where the Night Wraith comes from, which I think is a missed opportunity, because we got so much information about the Great Leonoptrix in the first movie, but nothing was really mentioned about the Night Wraith. what we know from the Night Wraith was what was mentioned in blog posts and on concept art by the artists. So yeah, I don't really know if that's maybe explained more in deleted scenes or extended cut of the movie, but yeah, we didn't really get to know much about how the others know about the Monk One. Maybe, excuse me, maybe it's because Pelak told them about the Monk One raiders, and then when Neytiri saw them, she was shouting Monk One. So maybe Pelak, maybe there's more interaction with Pelak and Jake and Neytiri. And also Pelak, the Wind Raiders, the issue I have with the Wind Raiders is that Pelak's name I don't think is even mentioned in the movie. So again, much similarly with the Night Wraith, what we know about Pelak was from blog posts, from Empire magazine articles, from concept art from the artist. And that's just strange. That's just, I don't know why they didn't really expand a bit more on the Wind Raiders. All right, let me go back to the chat here. Anna-Marie asks, when Quaritch captures Spider and Verang uses Okuhu, why did it knock Spider out? I think Verang intentionally knocked Spider out. That was her whole idea. I think it's like a Jedi mind trick. She was like, go to sleep kind of thing, and then he went to sleep. He fell asleep. So I think that sense, it was her intention to knock him out. Taylor Thowell asks, did you catch during the Jake and Spider scene when Jake is praying, he says, Awa, guide my hand? Yes. Yes, I did see that. And I think that was like maybe Awa guiding his hand sideways because he was aiming for Spider, but Awa guided his hand to miss. So in that sense, Awa intervened, pushing his hand sideways, saving Spider's life. The Lakeman asked, did Pelak die? No, Pelak did not die. He is already confirmed for future movies. And I think if Pelak were to die, then they probably would have showed it on screen. But no, David Thewlis's character was confirmed for future movies. Gregor Ant says, really sad that they barely gave any time to the Wind Raiders. Yeah, that's what I've been saying. I think they should have spent more time on the Wind Raiders. I feel that in the expansion from the Ashes to Frontiers of Pandora, the Wind Raiders play a much bigger role. So maybe that's always been the intention, to be introduced in the movies and then expanded on in From the Ashes. But we know that they will still be a part of the future movies, of course, if Avatar 4 and 5 does happen. But I do wish that we saw more of them because they were there and then they were gone. We saw one night scene of the kids kind of dancing with them, and I was like, okay, here we go. Here we're going to get some stories from the Wind Raiders. Maybe they're going to tell some tales about what they've been doing, where they come from, their travels. Maybe it would have been nice. Imagine this. Imagine if we had just 3-4 minutes of them sitting in one of those caravans at night, Pelak sitting there talking to the kids, saying, we've been traveling all across Pandora, and we're aiming to head to the Western frontier next. And there's this character, there's this talk about a warrior named Sulek. Just that mention, like that mention of the Western frontier and Sulek, and then that's how they got into the game. Or maybe mentioning about the Monk One traders, raiders, not traders. Maybe in that talk, Pelak would say about the Monk One and just talk about how dangerous they are, and that's how Neytiri learns about them. Maybe that's how the audience also learns a bit more about the Monk One, about this terrible, fearsome group that we are unsure about. Because remember, at that point, we've not seen the Ash Clan yet, so we're then given this idea of like, oh damn, this is like a really terrifying group of Na'vi. And then we see them appear in the next scene, and then you're like, okay, now it's going to go down. So I would have liked just a bit more talk, a bit more of the Wind Raiders just talking to the kids and to Jake and Neytiri, essentially to the audience. But yeah, we barely got some Wind Traders. Nikki Blue Shark says, maybe the ending was a message to us that we have to open our eyes now. Maybe. I think that's a bit too much fourth wall breaking, if you want to put it that way. But I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, still, I would have preferred if somebody opened their eyes. Jaralus Mala asks, excuse me, sorry if I'm butchering any names here. I feel that a lot of arcs in Fire and Ash were cut too short. Yes, I fully agree. I wanted to see way more of Pelak and the Wind Traders and more of what happened to the Na'vi if their Kurus were served. Yeah, that was also a big thing. I mean, I remember when we saw that concept art, and I'll get back to the concept art of the Ash Clan in a moment. But in the concept art, we saw this severed Kurus, and it was shown in the movie, which was shocking, yes. But I would have wanted to learn more about that. And also, if you remember the concept art, I should have had all the concept art and all the images in front of me. Apologies for not having that here, because it would have made more sense if I show it while I talk. But the concept art showed the Ash Clan doing a ritual, and they had these terrifying masks on. We didn't see those masks at all. And I'm wondering what happened with those masks, because I remember seeing them in the concept art and thinking, okay, this is quite terrifying, seeing these masks. They are not nice to look at. They're kind of creepy, but we didn't see one Ash Clan raider with a mask. So maybe it was too scary to I don't know, too terrifying to show on screen. I'm not sure, but yeah, I just don't understand why we didn't see Na'vi with those masks. All right, hopping back to the chat here. Maxi Diaz says, I think the third one, oh no, that was already, sorry. I accidentally went up to the chat now. No, that's correct. Sorry, you said you think the third one is the best. That's, again, perfectly fine. If you love the third one the most, that is perfectly fine. Bu said, it's sad the Air Nomad only had that short section of film. Yeah, agree. They only had way too little of a screen time. The Lakeman says, Loak narrated the movie just to disappear for half of it. Yes, I know. I also felt that he's narrating the movie and then he just disappears for a big portion, and then in the end he comes back with Paikan, and I was like, oh yeah, like, where have you been? And it's just even my fiance, who's not obviously like a Avatar super fan like I am, but she likes the movies, and she even asked me afterwards. She was like, what happened with Loak? He was talking in the movie, and then he just kind of disappeared for most of it, and then he just came back, and I kind of forgot that he was there. And I was like, yeah, that does happen. He does disappear. So I was thinking that he would be in the movie a bit more, considering he narrates the movie. So yeah, that I've just found strange. Moonshine says, what do you think about the theory that Quaritch was actually supposed to open his eyes at the end of Avatar Fire and Ash? That is interesting. I mean, imagine he falls down into the fire, and then you think he's dead, and then at the end of the movie it zooms to his body, and then he opens his eyes, and then the movie ends. That would have been interesting, I guess. All right, hopping back over to the chat here, trying not to skip all the way to the bottom. Marco says, just saw the movie, not satisfied with the ending, and do I think Quaritch really died? No, I don't think Quaritch died at all. In my opinion, movie just didn't have emotional drive that the first parts had. Yeah, I mean, the movie overall was heavy emotionally in terms of the darker parts. I mean, with Jake and Jake and Neytiri's relationship, the way they argues, the Lowak almost attempting suicide. That was a very heavy part. The part with Jake and Spider in the forest. But I also feel that the Tulkun scene
What's
in
down
the
there?
second movie was much heavier, much more emotional than the Tulkun scene in the third. And of course, Neteyam dying at the end of the second movie was very sad. And I just feel that Ronald dying in the third movie, there was no emotional impact at all. She just kind of dies, and we didn't even see Tonowari's reaction, which I was still thinking like, what? Are we not gonna see Tonowari's reaction? Are we not gonna have a funeral for her now? Like, what is happening here? Because I literally timed it on my second viewing when Jake and Quaritch, when Quaritch jumps off at the end, when they're
still
finished
watch.
fighting, it's literally less than 5 minutes until the credits, and that's a lot of stuff that happened, a lot of stuff to reflect on, and then the movie just ends. So I definitely feel that there were maybe stuff cut from the end of the movie, because like I said, we don't have a funeral for the Tsahik of the Metkayina, which how do you not have a funeral scene for her? I mean, yes, Ratso also died, which was unfortunate, but he also just dies, and Tirea sees that, and we don't even talk about it again. Even Tirea, we don't see her reaction about her mother's death. Anung, we don't see his reaction to his mother's death. So I just don't know why they just didn't do anything about that. All right, on to the next question. Let's see here. Definitely wanted more of Ian Garvin. Yes, definitely. I feel that his scenes was a bit cut short there. D3, I don't know how to pronounce that, but D3ND35. Anyway, I feel like Spider's dialogue in some parts were very cringy, annoying. Do you agree? Sometimes I feel that some of his humor didn't really hit as well. I think it's just it's not the actor, because I mean he's Jack Champion is great in other movies, especially in Scream. I think he does a phenomenal job, but I just think that maybe the dialogue given to him was not the best. And also, I mean, when Jack Champion shot Avatar 3, that was like what, 7 years ago. So he has definitely improved a lot as an actor. So I'm just gonna pour some more coffee. So if you hear something that sounds like water, it is just coffee being poured into a cup. Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if they do go ahead with Avatar 4, how Spider will improve and change as a character, and Jack Champion's performance as Spider. But I do feel that some of his dialogue didn't hit as well. One thing that didn't hit at all for me in Avatar Fire and Ash was the scene between Spider and Kiri. That kissing scene caught me a bit off guard, and it just didn't work for me as well as it should have. Now, I know in The Way of Water, there were hints of them kind of liking each other, and they were teasing each other, and they were flirting and stuff like that. So you could clearly see they were building up to something. You could see there were hints of them becoming something more. And throughout Fire and Ash, that was even pushed even further. But when Kiri kissed him, I was just like, this just feels awkward. I don't know if it's just me, but it just felt awkward. Even my partner, she said like, why are they kissing? Aren't they like kind of, isn't he like an adopted brother kind of thing? And I was like, yes, he technically is. So that was just kind of awkward, and I would have preferred if they had Tsireya and Loak kiss. I don't know why they didn't have them share a scene kissing, because clearly they are built up to be the next Jake and Neytiri. So I don't understand why they had Kiri and Spider kiss, which, like I said, just caught me off guard and just felt a bit awkward. But maybe it's just me. I know a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people on Reddit also talk about it and say that it was perfectly fine to them. And if it works for you, it works for you. But it just, I don't know, it just felt a bit strange to me. But again, that's just my opinion, of course. All right, hopping back to the chat here. The Lakeman, you say there's a previous leaked shot of Wainfleet shirtless, Quaritch in his Monk One war paint, and Jake in his orange jumpsuit, and bind it while they are still inside Bridgehead. Yeah, I remember that scene, and I was thinking where I was expecting that to show up, and I was expecting that to be the scene where we see Jake and Selfridge meet, because if you remember, the added scene in the remaster of the first Avatar movie has Parker Selfridge coming up to Jake saying, "You know this isn't over." So I thought to myself, okay, that obviously hints at them going to have some sort of interaction in Avatar Fire and Ash, because we know that Parker Selfridge is returning for the third Avatar movie, but they didn't interact at all. And I just feel that that was a missed opportunity to have them be on screen at the same time. So I just want to avoid this RDA base here. I don't want to be attacked while I'm talking to you guys. So yeah, I just feel that they should have had Parker and Jake interact. I don't know why they didn't have them interact. So maybe that scene, that previous scene that you were talking about, was the scene that that was cut. Maybe in an extended cut we'll see that, but yeah, I just feel that their interaction was a bit their lack of interacting was a missed opportunity. Joshua saying, "Why did Kiri and Spider kiss? What does it mean?" Like I just discussed, there's been hints of them having feelings for each other, so that's obviously why Kiri kissed him. The Lakeman says maybe the paint he had on has anti-fire resistance, referring to Quaritch falling into the fire. I don't know, maybe. I mean, Virang has said that she has learned to master the fire and control the fire and all that. So maybe some of the paint they put on themselves are like heat resistance and not like you can jump through. Because you see the Monk One warriors when they do the celebration in the forest with the fire, you see all of them jumping through the fire the whole time. So it would kind of make sense if their paint was kind of resistant to fire and heat. And then if Quaritch was covered in it, then yeah, I could see it as a possibility. I didn't really think of that. So that's a very good point that you brought up. You also say, or we could have gotten an Ikran last second. No, I don't think an Ikran would fly into the fire. I mean, if anything, it would have been Virang that saved him. But yeah, you have a good point about the paint. All right, let's go back to the chat here. Yeah, I did speak about the vortex thing where Jake and Quaritch battle at the end. Gregor Ant, you're saying kind of sad they didn't wrap up the character's story at the end. Like it would have been interesting to see how the Tonowari family reacted to Ronald's death. Yeah, like I said earlier, I feel that it's a missed opportunity that they didn't have Ronald's funeral, Ratso as well, but we didn't see any of them react to the Tsahik dying. I mean, not even the Metkayina clan. We didn't see them mourn the loss of their Tsahik. So yeah, definitely a missed opportunity there. Sitch, you're saying, now that I'm thinking about it, do you think Quaritch jumping or falling into the fire at the end was a metaphor for him going Monk One native? Him giving into the fire? Yeah, that's what I'm also thinking when I said earlier that he spent time with the Monk One. So he learned their ways. He learned to cope with the fire. So that was maybe him fully embracing the fire and fully becoming Olaektan of the Monk One clan. Because even though it's not stated that he's leader of the Monk One clan, I could see it as a possibility in the future. Nitem asks, do I think Avatar 4 will be made? Yes, I think so. I have a very strong suspicion that it will happen. Do I think that it will be delayed? That's also a possibility. I mean, Cameron has stated that he would like to work on other stuff as well. And I can see him just taking a break from Avatar for a bit and then doing something else. But that would result in Avatar 4 and 5 being pushed further. So, but yeah, I do think the opening weekend predictions are quite high. But I mean, given the history of the Avatar movies, opening weekends normally aren't their strong point. It's the length of, they have long legs, if you put it that way. So it's normally the length of how much they make over a certain time. But I mean, considering it seems to going to be such a strong opening weekend for Fire and Ash, it could mean that it will have a much stronger end when the movie is finally not in the cinemas anymore. So it's going to be really interesting to see the first month. So like by the middle of January, or like the 19th of January, when the movie has been in the cinema for a month, then you can really get a feel of how the movie is doing. But I do think that Avatar 4 will probably happen. Jade Martin says, to be honest, it feels like some critics go watch the movie with their critiques already written. Yeah, that's true. A lot of people, I mean, when I watched the movie, so I was very fortunate to have watched Avatar: Fire and Ash very early on in the month. I watched it 1st of December. That's when I watched Avatar: Fire and Ash. And the second time I also watched it with a couple of media people, and just when I looked around, I could see some of them were like on their phone, and so sometimes a lot of critiques people go in with the mind of like, I don't really like this movie, but I'm gonna watch it anyway, and then they come out and be like, yeah, I don't like this movie anyway. And I'm like, but if you don't like the movies, then why do you go in to watch them? It's just like, if you don't like Avatar, that's perfectly fine. If you watched Avatar and you don't like it, that's fine. I'm not gonna try and convince you otherwise. I mean, there's a lot of movies that I tried and I was like, I don't really like this movie, but I understand why people like it. Or even series that I watched and I'm like, yeah, people went on so much about the series, so I gave the 3 seasons or 4 seasons a chance, and I just didn't like it, and that's fine. I mean, one movie that I can honestly say I didn't like at all was Weapons, that horror movie that I know so many people are talking about is the best horror movie of the year. I watched it, and I just didn't like it. I thought that it was a very weak plot. I thought the villain was not good. There was very scary moments in the movie, for sure, but I thought the second half of the movie just fell flat for me. But I'm not going to go into the spoiler cast of Weapons, but and I know a lot of people really raved about the movie, and I'm like, that's great, that's fantastic. I just didn't like the movie, and that's fine. So, but yeah, I get what you mean about a lot of people going into this movie with a negative mindset, with the idea of like, I'm going to have a negative outcome already. So yeah, I get what you're saying. Going back to the chat, Martok says, why did Jake want to kill Spider and all of a sudden Neytiri wants to save him? It's confusing me. Well, Jake wanted to kill him because he saw what the RDA wanted to do. They wanted to reverse engineer spiders' breathing capabilities, and if they could find a way to just duplicate that on humans, then he knows what humans did to Earth. Then he knows, okay, well, if they can do this, then Pandora's kind of screwed, because then people from Earth are going to come here and just destroy everything. I mean, Jake even says it. They're going to ruin everything. So if he takes out Spider, then there's no way for them to reverse engineer this way of breathing. So if he kills Spider, then humans cannot breathe normally. They don't have the ways to do it, because they cannot study Spider. Neytiri saw that, that's at least from how I understood it, but Neytiri saw that Spider saved Jake's life, and that there's just more to Spider than being, as she calls it, a pink skin. And she saw Spider for who he truly is, and that's sacrificing himself for Jake, for the Sullys, and being essentially a hero. And that's why she was like, okay, wait, there's more to him. And at least that's from my understanding. Oh, I meant to press that button. I just want to see, there's a RDA base there. I don't want to go there. Let me see where I can just fly to. This game is beautiful. I cannot get over the fact how beautiful this game is. But I digress. Let's go back to the chat here. Callum, you're asking about Frontiers of Pandora. The only advice I can give you is doing a lot of side missions to get more skills, and making gear that's higher level. Just get a lot of legendary gear so that you can be as powerful as possible. That's pretty much it. The Lakeman says, Cameron repeats the same mistakes he does in every final battle in these movies. The friendly Navi like the Metkayina and Metkayina literally disappear, and the fighting Tulkun also disappears. Yeah, I also noticed that. At the end, I was like, okay, but where's everybody? Jake and Quaritch are fighting. I would have guessed that the rest of them were like in the back still fighting, but yeah, they just kind of shift focus, and then it's just like, okay, where are the rest of them? This is the same as, a lot of people were asking at the end of the Way of Water, where did the Metkayina go? They just kind of disappeared. And yes, they did. They disappeared off screen. But I'd like to think that maybe in the background, while Jake and Quaritch were fighting, and while the ship, the Sea Dragon, was flipping over, in the background there was still RDA around, and the Metkayina was still trying to take care of them. So maybe it's a situation like that. It's maybe not the best way to explain it, but yeah, I did notice that a lot of them kind of just disappeared. Modric, you're saying my chat is broken. I don't know how to fix that. I'm not really sure how to change that or fix it. It's probably a thing, issue with YouTube, but I'll have to look into that. Thank you for bringing it up. Let me see here. Oh, it jumped quite a bit now. So let me just get back to the chat here. All right. I don't know. Maybe there's something wrong with my streaming, because every time I access the chat, it kind of lags the game. But yeah. Tirea Cute says, was one of the Tulkun hunting scenes a deleted scene from the second movie? It really looked like Renal's Tulkun and her calf crying for her. Not that I'm aware of. Renal's Tulkun was... I know which part you're talking about, but no, it's not. As far as I'm aware, because Scoresby had his robotic arm in that scene, so it couldn't have been a deleted scene. Just me, do Jake and Neytiri stay together? Yes, they do. They do. SM1, we need more Varang. I want her to get a dynamic with Neytiri, like how Jake has his with Quaritch. It would have been great to see them converse about their experiences. Yes, I think so. That would have been very, very interesting. Let's go more down here. Jaden Martin says yes. Yeah, Quaritch killing Ardmore definitely would have been a better way. Yeah, I'm getting to questions that I spoke about for a while ago. So I'm trying to get to all of the questions as soon as possible. Stitch also says that about Ardmore's death. I liked their argument. I liked her arguing with Quaritch. But yeah, her off-screen death was a big disappointment. Just give me a second here. All right, so it does seem like my chat is a bit messed up, so I do apologize if I'm repeating questions or not getting to all of the questions. I'm trying to. I'm getting a lot of questions, which is fantastic. Christina, you're saying Ronald and Hotsu hit me like a truck. I was not okay for a full day. Yeah, their death was unexpected, but also like there were no, like you didn't really see what happened afterwards, which was just disappointing. Broke Drunkard asks, who do you think will be the villain in Avatar 4? That is a great question. It's probably going to be Quaritch. I mean, let's face it. He's already... I remember reading an interview with Cameron where he said that Quaritch is essentially going to be the villain across all 5 movies. So it's likely going to be Quaritch again. But in terms of who's going to be the other villain, like is Varang going to be... We know she's alive, so is she going to come back as the villain again? Or is there going to be a new threat? I don't really know. But it's going to be Quaritch. Yeah, Alien Shark, they didn't use the Na'vi language enough. I was hoping they would talk more Na'vi, but I feel that they hardly did in this movie. Tirakit, you're saying you thought it was out of character for Quaritch to jump. Because in the first movie he was like, over my dead body, and the second one he was low-key super scared of the fact that he died. Now, no. Yeah, I also think so. We know, I mean, like I said, I highly doubt he died. So him jumping off he would definitely think that he would die when he jumps off. He didn't have a plan B to escape. I don't think he had a plan B. So yeah, it would have been strange. I mean, in a way, you could also see him in the sense of that was his choice. Because Jake tells him that he had the choice. He's like, you have a choice. And Quaritch could have seen that Spider is happy with Jake. Quaritch could have seen that Spider chose Jake above him. And he was like, okay, you know, I care about this kid more than anything. So I'm no longer going to try and keep them apart. And the best thing I can do is just jump off into the fire. And that's the choice he made. So you can also see it that way. So that was his choice. All right, let's go back to the chat here. All right, let's see here. Yeah, it's the chat's jumping up and down now, so I don't know why. There's definitely something wrong with my chat. But random person says Quaritch is a dark mirror of Jake. Yeah, definitely. Jeff, you're saying that you could remove essentially all of the narration from the movie and it would still work. Yeah, I understand. I mean, like I said, that Lawak's narration just didn't land as well as Jake's narration, because I mean Jake was talking he was recording video logs, so it made sense why he was narrating. But yeah, I just feel that Loak's narration was a lot in the beginning and then in the end, but towards the middle of the movie, it was hardly there. So it just didn't work for me the way Jake's narration did. Let's see here. Biggles, you say Verang didn't need Quaritch after he showed her how to use a gun. She called him useless. So if Quaritch is shut off by the human side, he won't have the manpower to give, so the Ash people might betray him. Yeah, I mean, that's also a possibility. I mean, on the one side, I could see that Verang saved him, but on the other side, I could also see that Verang kind of, in a cowardly way is a strong way to put it. But after her interaction with Kiri, she could be like, screw this, I'm out of here. He has to deal with it himself, and then just leave him to be by himself. Elliptical journey, you say you wish Ratso was not killed. It felt very sudden and doesn't fit the narrative. He was Anong's best buddy, and it would have great to see him as an adult in Avatar 4. Yeah, I mean, I suppose they needed to show risks and that war has consequence. But yeah, I mean, him being killed so sudden, and then Tsireya looks at him, and then nothing ever happens again. That was just strange. That was just a strange. It happened in a strange way. Let's see here. Worlds of Wonders. You say you still love the first movie the most. I want to see more of the spiritual journey. Just not Kiri. Also learn more about culture. But spirituality disappeared, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, I think the whole theme of the third movie is like questioning religion and all that kind of stuff with Awa. Even Jake in the beginning, when him and Neytiri kind of argues, he says, when he says like, is a prayer, he says something along the lines of, I'm misquoting him, but he says something along the lines of, is a prayer going to save you? And then as he says that, he has like this little chuckle. And even when Renal says that Awa will provide, when Jake brought the guns, it's like saying like, yeah, right. Like, in a way, as if he had lost faith, which is strange because he says to Neytiri, he's like, oh, that's right, Awa will provide, like sarcastically. And I'm like thinking to myself, buddy, in the first movie, you asked Awa for help at the end of the battle, and Awa helped you. So you of all people should know that Awa does help. If you ask and if you pray, then Awa does help. So I understand, losing his son is a big impact, and I can only imagine how that must have felt. But it's strange that I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just misreading that whole part. But in one way, I understand why Jake was losing faith. But at the same time, I was thinking, okay, but in the first movie, he asked Awa for help, and Awa answered. So he knows that Awa does provide. Awa does help. So that was just a bit of a strange thinking. But again, maybe I'm just misreading that whole situation. Let's see here. Max Guru, you're asking, wait, the general dies? General Ardmore? Yeah, I would assume so. I don't like assuming, because, assuming, what that means. But I would have guessed so, because she's in the factory ship, and you see the factory ship going towards the Flux Devil, this vortex, and being pulled up, and then it just cuts back to the factory ship being destroyed completely. So you don't really see her escape. Again, this is another thing, like I said earlier, if you don't see the body, then don't think they died. So there's a possibility that she escaped. I mean, she does say abandoned ship, so maybe she did get out of it in time, but it really doesn't seem like it, because she's in the ship, you see the ship being pulled up, and then the next shot is literally the factory ship exploding, being pulled upwards. So I highly doubt she was able to escape that explosion. But yeah, in my eyes, I do think she died. Let's see here. Colette's, you're saying, how do I think Quaritch will live? I assume Verang catches him with the Night Wraith. Yeah, that's one possibility. I do think that maybe Verang caught him, and then Quaritch escapes with her. So in the time jump, we know there's going to be a time jump in Avatar 4. Quaritch essentially spends time with Verang, so he becomes like full Navi, and then Lyle is the one that stays with the RDA, because Wainfleet is still there. So he's the one that essentially takes over Quaritch's role in the RDA, and they might think that Quaritch died, so that'll be interesting in the fourth movie if we see like a reunion between Lyle and Quaritch. Colette is saying, why do I think Awa had eyebrows unlike a Navi? Well, Awa is not a Navi, so that's maybe why, but it is a good question. We don't really see, I mean, only see the eye of Awa. So I have questions about that scene. I have a lot of questions about that scene where we see Awa, we see the eye of Awa, but yeah, we see like the glimpse of Awa of the side, and then that's pretty much it. So yeah, it is interesting. Yeah, like I said, I just have so many questions about that scene. Hopefully we'll get more answers on that in the next movie. Let's see here. Yeah, like you said, where's the question now? I think I lost it. Yeah, I lost the question. But somebody said that the Hope Quaritch defects from the RDA and becomes full Monk One. That's what I think might happen. I think that Quaritch will be more Navi, and he will abandon the ways of the RDA. So yeah, and like I said, it'll be interesting if Quaritch and Verang does have kids. Charlotte Wood, you're saying, do I think Quaritch jumped out of love for Spider? Yeah, I do think he really cared for Spider. I think that's an arc of his that I wish we saw more of. When Quaritch was talking to Spider at the RDA base about his mother, that scene really caught me off guard. I was so emotionally involved in that discussion, and I was like, okay, we're hearing a side of Quaritch that we didn't know existed, and we're hearing more about something I wanted to know more of. And then yeah, they just briefly talk about it, and I was like, oh, I wish we had like a long discussion about Spider's mother and about what happened there. It would have also been nice if we had like a quick flashback of Spider's mom at the Battle of the Hallelujah Mountains. Like that would have been a nice throwback. And sorry for coughing or trying to adjust my voice here, but like I said, I'm coming down with a pretty bad cold. So I'm just trying to drink as much water and coffee as possible. Charlotte, were you also saying, yes, Fire and Ash did not need narration at all? Yeah, agreed. Well, not. I don't think it didn't need narration, but I think Jake narrating would have made more sense. because if you hear him narrate, imagine Jake was narrating about his relationship changing with Neytiri, the arguments, and then eventually him going back to his old ways, going back to the Great Leonoptrix. That would have been very interesting to hear. But yeah, we hear it from Loak's perspective, which I felt didn't really add as much in the movie, except the only part of the narration that I felt was like, oh, this is kind of heavy dialogue, was in the beginning, because the movie, remember, Avatar 1 and 2 opens with narration, with Jake narrating over Pandora, over the floating mountains, the forest and everything. But Avatar Fire and Ash does not open with narration. That was one of the biggest differences that I noticed immediately. The movie opens, we see the floating mountains, and then we see Loak and Neteyam, and them flying, and Loak saying bro like 50 times. And then after their hug, when Neteyam asks him, how did I die? That was unexpected. But then when no, I don't want to do the laser ore processing now. When Loak disconnects from the spirit world, he says, I killed my brother. That was kind of a bit of a heavy dialogue, but that's the only part that worked a little bit, and then the rest of the dialogue didn't really work for me. So if he maybe narrated a little bit more, then it would have been better, but I just feel that it was too little to really get attached to his narration. Balloonfly says, how do I think the people back on Earth view Jake? Do I think about, what do you think about the RDA screens when Jake was held prisoner, saying he was a terrorist? Yeah, I think that's pretty much what the RDA is printing Jake to be. They probably sent all the video footage and RDA propaganda back to Earth, saying, Jake is a traitor and this is what Jake did. So it makes sense, and potential spoilers for Avatar 5, just putting it out there, potential spoilers for Avatar 5, Cameron did hint, I think he said outright, that Jake, again, potential spoilers, that it's not confirmed, but he said something along the lines of Jake and Neytiri could head to Earth in the final movie. So I could see that as Jake going back to Earth and then clearing his name, saying, this is actually the truth, this is what happened, and yeah, that would be an interesting turn of events. Jeff, you're saying Acts 1 and 2 could have been the whole movie. Expand Wind Traders and Berang scenes, cut out most of the ocean battle. Yeah, that I could see that as a possibility as well. I feel that a lot of the ocean battle were repeating beats from The Way of Water. I mean, it's one of the biggest critiques, that whether people liked or didn't like the movie, that was a common issue with the movie in a way, is the repeating beats of the movie, especially the end part, because it just felt like the repeated ocean battle from The Way of Water. So if they did expand a bit more on those two parts, then yes, I could have seen that happen. And also, it's because it's interesting. I don't know who of you knows about it, but Cameron also stated in an interview that Turuk Makto, the Great Leonoptrix, was not initially planned to be part of Fire and Ash. And you can kind of see that, because he said that, you had to get I think his words were something along the lines of, you have to get the big orange bird back again. That was what Cameron said. And you can see, if you look at the movie as a whole, you can see the part where Jake goes back to get the Great Leonoptrix was added on and wasn't initially part of the story. So I could see it, like you said, Acts 1 and 2 were maybe initially the movie. And then they were like, no, they need a big final act, a big final battle. So how can they make it big? Is by getting the Great Leonoptrix back. So they added that in the rewrites or the additional writing or changes, whatever they made. So the Great Denoptrix were originally planned for Avatar 4, I believe. But yeah, Cameron did change it and added it to Avatar 3. So I would be curious to know what the original idea was for Avatar Fire and Ash, if the Great Denoptrix were not a part of it. Christina Garcia says, Natem was on a metal ship. What was Aya supposed to do? Have a fish jump in front of the bullet? No, that's not what I meant by that's a very, very funny and true question. No, of course, I mean, that's why Jake lost faith, is because of what happened to his son. But yeah, good question. Very good question. All right, let's go on to the next questions. Max Gura asks or said, I thought they evacuated. I'm guessing you're referring to General Ardmore. Yeah, I mean, it's possible, but I don't know. It's implied that they were still on the ship and it exploded. That's at least how I see it. But maybe in the making of documentary or the visual dictionary, it does say that she survived. I don't know. I did order the book, so the book will arrive next week, I believe. All right, let's it keeps jumping. If I scroll down to the next part of the questions, it keeps jumping to the very bottom, and then I just miss so many questions. So then I'm kind of lost in where I was. Let's see here. Charlotte, you have a good point here. Say Iowa appears as a projection of Kiri's inner thoughts. I doubt she has an appearance, and I think Kiri is Iowa. Took and Spider would also have been projected their inner thoughts. Yeah, that's a possibility, because yeah, that's an interesting thought, that Iowa is like a projection of what she thinks Iowa could be. So, you know, it's not a person or an appearance. It's more of what you think it could be. That is a possibility. You also asked, it wasn't really a question. I do think he jumped out of love, and that was such a wonderful arc between Spider Quaritch and the Sully parents. Yeah, okay, sorry, I misunderstood your statement then. But yeah, like I said, it's Quaritch's arc where he jumps for Spider is definitely him caring for Spider, and that's why I'm saying that maybe at the end when he jumps into the fire, that was him choosing death in return for his son's happiness, because he knows that maybe if he stays around, it's going to torment and haunt Spider, and it's only going to cause conflict for the Sullys, and Spider is happy being with the Sullys, so his only option is to just jump in the fire and end it. That's one way to look at it. All right, let's go back to the questions here. Broke Drunkard asks, am I from Norway? You're from Denmark. Well, I live in Norway. I'm not originally from Norway. I wasn't born here. I moved to this country not too long ago, but I'm originally from South Africa. But I've been living in Norway for a while now, and my fiance is Norwegian, so yeah, if that answers your question. And Anonymy says that, yeah, you agree that it would make sense to conclude the trilogy to have Jake being the narrator. Yeah, I mean, especially since Avatar 1, 2, and 3 is one saga, would make sense that Jake finishes out the narration for the first saga. All right, let's go on to more questions here. Gabriel Rajkovic, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, asks, how does Quaritch and Wainfleet's relationship look like in Avatar Fire and Ash? Does Lyle have enough screen time? Lyle never has enough screen time, but he does have more. I think he has more screen time than what he does in The Way of Water, but he does question Quaritch's actions in this movie, which I liked. It's like Lyle is this hardened soldier following it by the book. He does what the RDA says, and even at the end of the movie, he always has his RDA gear on. Even in the scene where Quaritch shows up at Bridgehead, fully painted in Manquan paint, Lyle is still dressed in RDA uniform. So I think that we might see them maybe clash in the future. That would be interesting, because even one of my favorite scenes in the movie was after the interaction with Quaritch and Verang in her tent, where he convinces her, that you need me, that I can provide you as much weapons as possible. Then we see that montage with incredibly epic music attached to it, where we see the RDA giving weapons to the Ash Clan. And then at one point where Verang takes Quaritch's hand going to the tent, well, we know what they're going to do there. And then we see in the background, Wainfleet just kind of looks at their hand and looks at them, not really approving of what's happening. At least that's the feeling that I get, that Lyle isn't really approving of Quaritch turning full Na'vi, because, well, Lyle is still loyal to the RDA. All right, let's...
Careful.
B, you say you can hear the South African accent now. I have lost a little bit of it because I speak a lot of English with my partner, and Norwegian, of course. I only speak Afrikaans with my family and friends back home. But yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. Philgan says, where do you think Spider's evolution will go over the next? And do you think RDA will figure out how to breathe Pandoran air because of Spider? I don't think so, because, I mean, if they capture Spider again, then it's going to be, again, a rehash of what we've seen before, because that part already felt a little bit like a repeat of The Way of Water. Spider gets captured again, he goes to Bridgehead again, Quaritch and Spider has a discussion again. So if they do that for Avatar 4, then it's going to be like, okay, we've done this already. But maybe, I mean, they did study him and they did take tests on him. So there is the possibility of the RDA sending that data, sending that information back to Earth, where they studied further, maybe figuring out how to breathe normally on Pandora. So that is a possibility. Shadow Silver says, I thought it was weird how suddenly just Kiri could control her Kuru like a snake. Yeah, that did happen quickly. But I mean, she did see Awa, and then she could control the animals on Pandora. So, and then then she unlocked her abilities. So she fully understood what she was capable of, and she accepted who she was, being the child of Awa. So I think in that sense, acceptance is a big theme of the movie, and Kiri accepting who she is kind of unlocked her full potential. Charlotte, you're saying, it's funny how much I hated Lyle in Avatar 1 and how much I loved him in Fire and Ash. I also like how he showed some humility in Way of Water. Really gonna waste her? Yeah, that's also true. I also I liked him more in The Way of Water and I like him more here. But yeah, I do hope we see more of him in the fourth Avatar movie. Brother Fly Lineage says, do I think Verang should have been the main villain and Quaritch kind of a sideline in this film? I don't know. Maybe thinking about it, it makes sense that Quaritch is still like the main bad guy in the movie, but I can understand how it would have worked if they made Verang the main villain and then Quaritch kind of the sideline villain, only to come back as the main villain again in future movies. But yeah, I feel that considering Verang and Quaritch is still alive, of course they might be again the main villains in Avatar 4, but yeah, I don't know. We don't know enough yet about the fourth movie, aside from the fact that Cameron has filmed scenes of the kids for the beginning part of the movie, and there will be a time jump. I think it's like 6 to 8 years, I believe. So yeah, aside from that, Cameron has hinted, and the cast, they have also hinted that the next Avatar movies goes to insane places, as they have read the scripts of Avatar 4 and 5. So I'm really curious what they are referring to. Excuse me. I just need to take a sip of water here, so just excuse me for a second. Yeah, Sabrin, you make a very good point. It's something I thought to myself as well. When they were telling Kiri how she was born, I thought everyone already knew that. Yeah, I also thought so. I was like, yeah, but doesn't everybody know that already? I mean, in the second Avatar movie, she's on top of the tank of Grace's avatar, and I thought that they kind of knew that Kiri was like a clone of Grace. So the whole reveal where Mawat is telling Jake, tell her she is ready, that reveal was a bit underwhelming. Maybe it's just me, but I was just like, okay, but we know that already. Maybe it's because we've been theorizing in videos for so long, and I've been talking in the chat with everybody for so long about who Kiri is, and it's just like we've predicted that for a long time. So that reveal wasn't as big as I thought, but I don't know, maybe it's just me. All right, let's go back to the chat here. So the game is gonna lag again, of course. All right. Trollwood saying that Quaritch isn't the bad guy in Fire and Ash so much he's a character. Verang is absolutely a villain. Yeah, Verang is evil, pure and pure evil. She doesn't even when she was asking Loak to show her thunder, how to make thunder, and he couldn't because they were out of bullets. She said, kill the youngest. And I was like, what? Are you really going to kill, like, threatening to kill Tuk here? Like, yeah, Verang is just evil. She's just evil for the sake of being evil. Let's see here. Dolly I asking, do you think it'll hit 2 billion? That is, of course, the big question. I don't know. I don't want to say yes and then it doesn't. I mean, The Way of Water did less than Avatar did, so I can see a situation where Fire and Ash does less than The Way of Water, but I could also see a possibility where it does 2 billion and just over 2 billion, and then that's more or less where it stops. War Robots asking, what do you say of the fourth movie being about ice? I mean, I believe in some concept arts behind the scenes quite a while ago, there were some concept of like snow, like a snowy region. So I do see that as a possibility. I do wonder what the Na'vi will be like living in that area. Because I just want to see more of Pandora. That's the big thing. I just want to see like a whole world map of Pandora. Charlotte, you're saying again, I had thought for sure that Mawat and Metkayina conspired to incarnate Awa into Kiri. That is just, girl, your Grace's avatar clone, was a bit of a no-duh moment. I understand what you're saying, but yeah, it's just like I said, that whole moment was a bit of a, yeah, okay. That was literally my reaction in the cinema when I watched it the first time. I was like, okay, and like we knew this, but yeah.
Careful.
Yeah, Philgin, you're saying, wasn't there concepts for snow bomb? Yeah, I believe there was concepts for snow bomb that was unintentionally shown in behind the scenes documentary. Brother Fly Lineage saying Kiri is starting to become a plot convenience. There's a lot of timely conveniences in Fire and Ash. One of the biggest is when Jake escaped from Bridgehead. Maybe it's just me, but I thought everything was a big timely convenience for the sake of a movie. Because if you think about it, and correct me if I'm misunderstanding anything about the scene, which is epic, by the way. Don't get me wrong. This scene is pretty epic, and the way Neytiri flies with her Ikran in Bridgehead is amazing to witness. But I find it very convenient that Spider escapes. At the same time, Neytiri arrives. At the same time, Ian Garvin breaks free the cage which Jake is in, and none of them planned this, obviously. It just happened to happen at the same time. And I was like, this is very convenient that all three of them are doing this at the same time, right? Because say Ian Garvin was not in the picture, right? Say he was not there with the bulldozer to destroy the cage that Jake was in. What was Neytiri going to do? What was her plan? Was she planning to blow up the cage? Was she planning to, how was she planning to rescue Jake? Same with Spider. What was his plan? Was he planning to check out the cage and kind of see how he can open it up? But then again, there were so many soldiers. So what was he going to do to distract them? I just felt that all of that was a very timely, convenient situation. Again, it was incredible to see, but it all just happened at the same time, which I guess, that happens in movies. But also, one thing that I was questioning was at the end when Neytiri had Jake and Spider on her Ikran, they were flying out of Bridgehead, and then the next scene cut to them being at the river, or flying in the air and then landing at the river. And I was thinking to myself, okay, but how did they escape Bridgehead? Because we know that she had the little tag, the IFF badge or something, that shows that she's friendly, but still the RDA had guns on the walls of Bridgehead. Surely they could have used that to try and stop them, but they just fly out of the explosion or fly away from where the gunship was crashed, and then the next scene cut to them away from Bridget. And I was like, okay, didn't the RDA send anything after them? Like, we know Quaritch was there trying to find them, so did they just give up? So the way that scene ended just made me question a lot of things. But yeah, again, that's just me overthinking things. All right, let's go back to the questions here. I was thinking this during the movie of when Spider escaped while on the other side of him. Yes, that was another thing. Dolly, you're absolutely right. That was also another thing that I was thinking. When Spider kept Quaritch's dog tags, he used it to unscrew the little vent or the little entrance at the bottom of the door. And I was thinking, like, moments ago we saw him throwing a chair against a window where there's a room full of scientists. Did nobody see him like, hey, this kid is trying to escape? Like, did nobody see that? I'm overthinking these things, but it's stuff like that makes me think like, okay, but maybe they were on a lunch break. I don't know. Maybe it was lunchtime. Maybe Spider observed them and saw their timing and see, okay, this time they go on a break, so now it's perfect time for me to escape. But again, then the timing of everything, Spider escaping, Neytiri arriving, Ian Garvin breaking Jake's cage, just very convenient in terms of when it happened. War Robots saying, also, do you think we will see another base in the fourth movie like we saw Bridget in The Way of Water? I don't think we'll see another base because Bridget is still around. The RDA is still around. Bridget is still there. Bridget was never destroyed. Parts of Bridget was attacked and destroyed by Neytiri, but it was just a handful of structures compared to how big Bridgehead really is. So I don't think we will see another base. I mean, it would make more sense if we see a massive battle where Bridgehead gets attacked and possibly destroyed in future movies. That I could see, but I don't think we'll see another RDA base. All right, let's go back to the questions. Arco, you're saying you love the movie. Wish there were more merch. Why can't we have a Valkyrie toy model? Yeah, that would be incredible. I was always hoping that with Lego, like Lego did with the Death Star and the massive Harry Potter castle, Hogwarts. I wish they would do like a Valkyrie mega Lego set, or even like a Sea Dragon Lego set. That would have been fantastic if we had like a massive Lego set. But unfortunately, it's been confirmed that there's no Lego sets for Avatar Fire and Ash. Turek Makto, Poland. The channel makes my returning trip from work to home so happy. Greetings from Poland and Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you and hello. I would love to go to Poland one day. Still on my bucket list. Charlotte, you're saying you think there were lockouts on the remotely controlled gun installations which prevented them from being fired on. Yeah, that's the IFF badges, what I was talking about. But still, surely the RDA could have controlled them manually. That's what I was thinking. Like, sure, okay, automatic guns doesn't attack them because of the badges. But then it's like, okay, manual control. That's what I would think. But all right, let's go back to the questions here. So the game is going to lag a little bit again. Cyberspook says that it was a shame that we never got to see Sylvanin at the end of the movie in the Awa Spirit world. I find it strange that she's never been acknowledged in any of the theatrical cuts of the movies. Yeah, I mean, she was in the extended cut of the first Avatar movie, but yeah, it would have been pretty awesome if we saw her in the Spirit world, especially with Tute. Brother Fly Lineage says, also, what happened to Quaritch and the Ash during the Bridgehead scene, which was one of my favorite scenes. I always wanted to Avatar 3 to spend more time with Bridgehead. Yeah, I also wanted to see more of Bridgehead, and that's what I questioned on in terms of it felt like scenes was missing because we saw Quaritch talking on the radio about Neytiri being in Bridgehead. We saw him with the Ash clan and Varang chasing after Neytiri, and then the next scene is just Neytiri and Jake in the air landing by a river. It's like, okay, but what happened with them? Weren't they being chased? So that's a question that I had. Let's see here. Oh no, it's jumped questions again. Charlie Wood, you're saying yes, and surely the RDA could have followed Neytiri, but maybe they were busy putting out the fire. That's true. The Manquan could have pursued anyhow. Yeah, because the Manquan did set up camp there. So even if the RDA was busy, because as you know, General Ardmore is not a fan of Quaritch and Jake's personal vendetta. So even if she's like, no, I'm not going to spend more resources chasing after this guy, Quaritch would have taken the Ash clan and be like, okay, well, we're going to go after her. So that didn't make sense to me. Siege is saying, do I think Verang and Quaritch truly like each other, or do I think they'll betray each other in Avatar 4? I do think that maybe they might betray each other. I mean, Quaritch, you could see even in the way he was smiling, despite him being like happy with her, you could see he was kind of like they were using each other for their own personal needs. So I could see a situation where they might betray each other in future movies. Moss and Motion is saying, do you think James Cameron needs to let me reread that. Do I think James Cameron needs to let up on the reins? Avatar 3 will fail because no one checked him. He's going down a slippery slope. The writing, timing, and the future only ran by him. Avatar 3 fails. It's all James Cameron. I mean, no, I think, like, I get what you're saying, and I remember Cameron saying in an interview that the production notes that he got from the heads, the studio heads on Avatar 4 and 5 was something like, holy shit. That was basically the notes that he got from where Avatar 4 and 5 is going. I mean, I don't think somebody needs to, like, in quotes, keep him in check, if you want to put it that way, because Cameron has proven himself over and over that he can make billion-dollar movies. So if you have that kind of resume, you know, and the studio's like, no, we're gonna keep you in check, I don't think somebody will. But I get what you mean, but I don't think somebody will try and, like, keep him in check. Brother Flyliner says, I think the main villain is going to be Quaritch, unfortunately, for Avatar 4 and 5. Yeah, probably, because, like I said before, he's confirmed, Stephen Lang's confirmed to be the villain in Avatar 4 and 5. So, yeah, it's definitely going to be the main villain. Verang will probably be a side villain again, and maybe there will be some side... The RDA will be a side problem again, but, yeah, I'm just curious where they go with this movie, because they can't rehash the same thing again with, okay, the RDA... hunts the Sullys again, Quaritch is after the Sullys again. Like, you would want to see something completely different now. So I'm really, really curious where they take the saga from here. Moss and Motion saying Verang is definitely pregnant. Ronald baby versus Verang baby in Avatar 5. That's interesting. I didn't think of that, actually. But yeah, I mean, considering that Verang's baby, Pril, I think is the baby's name, is born at the end of Avatar 3. If Verang gets pregnant and she has a child, then they would be more or less the same age. So I could see a situation like that. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Hulken King asks, random question, do you think people will get tired of Quaritch versus Jake battle that keeps happening? Yeah, that's what I said in the beginning of the video. It's like, you know, if we see Quaritch and Jake battle again, then it's going to be like, okay, we're seeing them fight again. It's like, think of for example, what are some big fights in movie moments, like Luke Skywalker versus Darth Vader. If we saw that at the end of the episode 4, saw that at the end of episode 5 and episode 6, you will be like, okay, it needs to come to a conclusion now, because we keep seeing them face off against each other. There are hints of it in the previous Star Wars movies, but you kind of built up to this final confrontation, and I was thinking that this would be the final confrontation between Quaritch and Jake, but I don't think it will. I don't know how they will continue them in the 4th and 5th movie, but yeah, I mean, I spoke to some people just randomly after my last viewing of Avatar Fire and Ash, and that was the first time I watched the movie with an audience, and I just asked them, like, you know, what do you think about the movie? And they're like, absolutely loved it, big fan of the movies, but I hope that we don't see Jake and Quaritch final fight again, because we've seen that now 3 times. So I get why people would want something different. it needs to come to a conclusion, and I do wonder how their story will wrap up if it's not done already. So yeah, so that's a good statement. Let's go on to the questions. Yeah, Balloonfly, Cameron had multiple writers on Avatar, Fire and Ash, and The Way of Water. Fire and Ash and The Way of Water was supposed to be one movie, and then there was so much to tell that they eventually split it up into 2 movies. And you can see it. You can see it as one, like you can see it as part 1 and part 2 of one movie. Excuse me. Let me just drink some water here because my throat is not the best. First of all, I want to say again, thank you to each and every person being here. Over 70 people taking time out of your day, taking time out of whatever you're doing, hanging out in the chat, watching some beautiful scenery of Frontiers of Pandora, and just talking spoilers on Avatar, Fire and Ash. I really appreciate everybody being here. I really appreciate everybody supporting my content and liking videos, commenting, and even if you dislike my videos, just give me a reason so I can improve on the videos in the future. But yeah, I appreciate everybody interacting with my videos, and yeah, it really means a lot to me that you guys take time out of your day to be here. I really, really appreciate it. Back to the question. Movie Bros says, with Quaritch possibly not being dead, do you think he will come back, or is his reign done? No, he will come back. As I've mentioned, Stephen Lang is confirmed for Avatar 4 and 5. Chris Chan, you're saying, I like the part when Spider asks for the badge of Quaritch and use it as a tool to escape and casually tosses it on the floor straight away. Yeah, but the problem with that scene is I question it because there's a room full of scientists next to him, and I'm just like, did nobody see him escape? Did nobody see him run down the hallway? That's just very convenient thing for me. Moss in Motion, thank you for the compliment. Appreciate it. Appreciate you being here. War Robots say, do you think Kiri will get another companion in the 4th movie, as her Ikran was shot by Ash Warriors when they attacked the Wind Raiders, and her getting the Thanator instead of Ikran? That'll be interesting if Kiri gets a Thanator, but yeah, she probably will get another companion. Alk's Game says Quaritch at this point is completely busted for RDA, so I think he will be done on the Fire Clan in Avatar 4. Yeah, I think so as well. I think he will fully embrace more Navi side of him, and he will embrace the part of being leader of the Fire Clan, because he's essentially dismissed from the RDA. So I don't think he's going to be welcomed back at the RDA again. Lyle is the only one that's loyal to the RDA, so it's definitely going to be interesting, their dynamic, if they meet again in the future movie. Cybran, you're saying you made me buy the Verang statue. Well, I hope it's going to be worth it. I mean, I'm excited to receive the Quaritch and Verang statue. I really wish I bought the Jake Sully one, the Iron Studios one, because I have the Neytiri one from The Way of Water, but I would have liked the set, but unfortunately I waited too long to order it, and now it's just sold out everywhere. So I'm not making that same mistake again, and I ordered the Verang and Quaritch statue, which is set to arrive only like at the 3rd quarter of next year, so still a while. But yeah, I hope it's good. It looks good though. The Lego Bob, hello, how are you doing on this fantastic and beautiful Saturday evening? Or at least it's evening, it's 10:30 in the evening for me. I'm probably going to wrap up this discussion soon because I am very sick. I'm getting sick, so I'm struggling to talk a lot. So hopefully I can continue, because I have a lot of videos that I'm working on at the moment, and with the news for Avatar not going to be as big now, because I mean the movie's out, I'm going to focus a lot on lore videos and a lot of interesting that I want videos that I don't want to give away too much, but I have a lot of videos in the works. Let's see here. Go back to the questions. Super Kartoffel says, I was really hoping for a fight between Quaritch and Ardmore in her exoskeleton. I was kind of disappointed that Ardmore had such an anticlimactic death. What are your thoughts on this? Yes, the fact that Ardmore supposedly died off screen was very disappointing. They disagreed a lot in the movie, and there was even a deleted scene in The Way of Water where you could see Ardmore wasn't a fan of Quaritch's personal vendetta, and where she even says to Quaritch, one ship, I'll give you one ship. And if they kept that scene, it would have made sense in the scene where Quaritch tells, where Ardmore tells him, I gave you a ship, it's at the bottom. So I would have liked to see Ardmore fight Quaritch in her suit, because the thing is also, we see her train in her suit in the second movie. We see her punch that punching bag. And I was like, okay, we're going to see this general in some hand-to-hand combat. They're teasing that she's going to do something in the Skell suit. So I was very excited to see that. I was like, okay, they're building up this tension that Ardmore really does not like Quaritch. So probably they're going to face off against each other. But nope, that didn't happen. Ardmore supposedly died off screen, and that's it. Which was a disappointment. I mean, unless somehow she escaped the factory ship, and then she's still alive, and then in a future movie we will see her face off against Quaritch. That'll be interesting. But yeah, that's still up for discussion.
What's down there?
Charliewood face and first name reveal when? If you go onto my Instagram, and my latest YouTube post, I have a picture of me at the premiere in Norway. So, and if you go onto my post on Instagram where I post that picture, I did actually tag my fiance in that, because she was with me at the premiere. So if you go to her Instagram, you'll see many pictures of me. So I hope that answers your question. But I don't have a webcam. I have a very bad camera in my laptop. That's like, looks like an old 480 resolution camera. So I don't have a proper camera yet. Once I get that, then I'll probably start doing live streams with my face as well. But yeah, I do need to get a camera first. But yeah, just go on to that Instagram post, and then you'll find me, more pictures of me. X-Game, you say you think she died on that ship? Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's movie 101. If you don't see the body die, if you don't see the dead body, then don't assume that they died. It's the same with Scoresby in The Way of Water. The same with a lot of stuff in movies. You don't see the dead body, so you shouldn't think that they died. Same with Quaritch at the end of Fire and Ash. You didn't see the dead body, don't think he died. General Ardmore, you don't see her dead body, so if they bring her back, then I guess, you know. But with Ronal and Rotso, you did see there's the difference. With Ronal and Rotso, you did see the dead body. You did see them die on screen. So they are dead. They're not going to come back to life. So Ardmore, still up for discussion. Quaritch, definitely not dead, in my opinion. But yeah.
That?
Nateum asks, do you think stuff about Avatar 4 will be known next, like D23 2026? I think that's a bit too early. I think if anything, maybe next year we will know if Avatar 4 is going to happen, because by then, at least by the end of January or February, we will know what the numbers were for Avatar Fire and Ash. So by then we will know if Cameron is going ahead with Avatar 4 and 5. But remember, it was last year at D23 where they showed the concept art and revealed the name for Avatar 3. So I can see if Avatar 4 is still going to happen at 2029, then I can see in D23 in 2028 they do something where they show, this is what we've been working on. Here's Avatar, whatever it's going to be called. And here's some concept art for some new characters, some returning characters, some new biomes. Stick around next year. It's going to be a wild ride. And then at CinemaCon 2029, they're going to do the same where they reveal some footage for Avatar 4, similarly to what they did this year for Avatar 3. But I don't think they'll outright show stuff for Avatar 4 next year. I think that's going to be too early, in my opinion. Brother Fly Lineage says, do I think Ryan Coogler will make a good Avatar spin-off film? Yes, I think he's a fantastic director. I think he could take the franchise in an interesting direction, but I don't think Cameron will pass the torch of the Avatar franchise to another director, at least not yet. Cyber, you say Quarry is definitely not dead, but we did see him dead body. We don't see his dead body, as far as I'm aware. I don't recall seeing his dead body. War Robots asks, what do I think of the Kiri and Spider kiss scene? That was very awkward, and I was not a fan of it. I spoke about it in length at the beginning of this live stream. It came off very... I didn't expect to see it. I'm just going to briefly touch on it now. I know there were hints of them flirting in The Way of Water and Fire and Ash. So it's expected that it's understandable that eventually they were going to form some sort of romance, but it just came off, it was just, I don't know, the scene just didn't work for me. I would have preferred if Loak and Tsireya had a kissing scene, because that would have made sense. Shro Oki says, Scoresby did not learn any lesson. Lost an arm, saw the Tulkun fight back, didn't assume that that's a bad omen, and got owned. Scoresby, what a guy. Yeah, he's dead. I mean, he's dead. He's not going to come back. Adam Cowlam asks, did you, excuse me, I'm struggling to read today. Did you enjoy the movie overall? I agree it felt quite rushed and there wasn't a chance of breathe and just enjoy being in Pandora. Yeah, I love Fire and Ash, don't get me wrong. I love the movie. I watched it a couple of times by now, and I'm planning to see it a bunch more times while it's in the cinema still. But in terms of ranking, I would say it's just below The Way of Water for me. The more it sits with me, the more it falls just below The Way of Water. Initially, it was alongside The Way of Water, but now that it's sat with me more, had more time to think about it, the movie definitely benefits with rewatching, because it's a lot of movie. There's a lot to take in. There's a lot of stuff that I took in the second and third viewing, and the movie is probably going to get better the more times I watch it. But it's just below The Way of Water for me, and above The Way of Water, I think it's still the first Avatar movie. Again, it doesn't mean Fire and Ash is bad, not at all. It's just, it's out of the three, it's the one that I would rank the lowest, if that makes sense. Gamerscore asked, do I have the Heroes of Pandora bundle? I'm guessing you're referring to Frontiers of Pandora. I haven't bought any other packs yet. I've been so busy yesterday and today. I've also been so busy, Christmas stuff and work and end of the year stuff. I needed to wrap up a lot of stuff at work, so I haven't had much time playing the game. So I'm planning to buy all the packs and do reviews on them. So I hope that answers your question.
You see that?
War Robot asks, when Quaritch jumped off the rock at the end of the movie, do you think that A was saving him instead of Verang? That would be interesting. That would definitely be interesting. Excel Game says, I'm only mad at the scene because Loak and Tsireya didn't get their kissing scene. Yeah, that's what I said. Loak and Tsireya should have had a kissing scene for sure. Jordan Burns asks, hello, if Quaritch is alive in Avatar 4, do you think he'll continue to go after Jake because he keeps losing to Jake every time, or will Quaritch eventually learn turning more Na'vi? I think he'll turn more Na'vi. I think unintentionally I could see his paths crossing with Jake again. Like he could be like, okay, you know, Spider is happy with Jake, so I'm gonna leave that kid, you know, let him live his life, and then he's gonna maybe go with Virang, become more Na'vi, and then unintentionally be pulled back into this whole battle, back in with the RDA and all that. Charlottewood, you say you loved Fire and Ash as well. Way of Water did have a more satisfying arc. You love Lowak teaching his bruised and battered father to breathe through the pain and swim with him. That's one thing that I took issue with. And tell me if I'm not remembering this correctly, but at the end of the Way of Water, where Lowak and Jake was in the water, in the Sea Dragon, Jake did tell him, I see you, son. Right? He did tell Lowak, I see you. And Lowak was like, I'm so sorry, you know, about everything. And then Jake was like, I see you. So I took that scene as Jake kind of forgiving Lowak for what happened. You know, being like, you know, I forgive you. I see you as who you are, as a warrior, as my son. But then the beginning of Fire and Ash, Jake is kind of hating him again in a way. So I was just like, when their first interaction on screen happened, when Jake was like angry with him, I was like, but I thought you guys were okay at the end of The Way of Water. And also the whole thing with Neytiri's bow, I was kind of finding a bit weird because Lowak found Neytiri's bow and Jake said that thing's useless, which I understand. Bows is useless against guns and metal. But why didn't Jake just, because he saw Neytiri was in an emotionally terrible state and he probably knew that her bow would make her feel better, right? So why didn't he just tell her like, hey, you know, there's something that might cheer you up. Your son found something. Here's your bow. Even the part where she crashes out and she says she has nothing. She doesn't have her forest. She doesn't have her people. Not even her father's bow. Why didn't Jake take that opportunity to say, hey, by the way, on that matter, we did find your bow. We just weren't sure how to tell you. I mean, that would have cheered her up a little bit, right? Maybe it's just me, but yeah. Also, one thing I have a big question about, and it's about Virang. And please tell me if I'm not understanding this correctly. So, Virang, the whole thing about Virang and the Ash Clan is that they are very fascinated by weapons, right? They're very fascinated by rifles, the damage it can do, and bullets and all that kind of stuff. They're like, they've never seen this before. That's the impression the movie gives me. They've never seen this before. They're like, what is this thunder? What is this loudness? I want it. Give it to me now. You know, that's the kind of impression that I get. But Virang also tells Spider, how are you still alive, air breather? Should our air not be poison? To sky people. She even calls Quaritch a sky man. So she knows, that implies she knows about the humans, she knows about the sky people, she knows enough about them to know that the air on Pandora poisons them. So should she not have known about human weapons as well? Surely if they know about humans and about humans breathing on Pandora and not being able to breathe normally on Pandora, about the sky people, then she must have encountered human weapons at some point. I don't. Yeah, you get it, Jaden. Make a good point. You say that the Monkwan know about humans, but they didn't see them in combat with guns. That's a possibility. She's never seen them in combat, so she doesn't know how dangerous sky people can be. She doesn't know how dangerous weapons from sky people can be. But that thought just, she doesn't know how it works. Maybe. And she when she saw Jake on top of the Medusoid using it, she must have thought like, oh, that's an opportunity for me to learn it, or I don't know. I don't know. I was just wondering, like, okay, but hasn't she seen weapons before? Because she knows so much about Sky People. She clearly is intelligent, more intelligent than some of the other Monkong warriors. So I was just wondering, like, doesn't she know about the weapons? Cyberspoke, you say, and Jake was keeping the bow from Neytiri because he didn't want her to go back to using the bow, and having it back would encourage her to use it in war. Sorry, your question kind of disappeared there. Encouraged her to repair it and use it rather than learning how to use a gun. I get that. That makes sense. I suppose that makes sense. He wanted her to use a gun because he was against the idea of using bows and arrows like Ronal insisted and Tonowari insisted. So I guess makes sense. Yeah, Jaden, I know about Vrang and the way that they speak English for the audience to understand, because we know Quaritch does speak Navi, so I understand that part. But I was just wondering about the part where she's surprised about the guns, but she knows a lot about Sky People. World of Wonders, you say maybe she heard about the story of Jake. He is Turok Makto. Surely stories were shared. She could learn that, I believe. Yeah, maybe the stories of Turok Makto. I mean, Tonowari, I believe, in the Way of Water even said like everybody, all Navi know your story. So maybe she heard about Turok Makto. So it's a possibility. Jordan Burns, you say Neytiri in the Ash makeup so badass. Yes, that was really, really a badass scene. I wanted more of it though. I wanted to see more of her destroying Bridgehead. That was really, really epic. Let me try and pronounce your name here. Ascards is, I'm definitely butchering your name there, so I apologize about that. But you're saying, where did all the side clans characters go in the final fight? Yeah, we spoke about it earlier in the stream, where the same kind of happened in The Way of Water. That's at the end of the final part of the movie, the clans just kind of disappeared. My thinking is that there was probably a lot of RDA left, and they were trying to take care of the rest of the RDA, the rest of the Sea Dragons, the rest of all the gunships and everything. So they were busy fighting them. That's my thinking. Greater Belgium, you're asking, is General Ardmore dead? It is implied that she's dead.
What's down there?
It's implied that she dies off screen, but I mean, you didn't see her dead body, so you didn't see her actually die. So, you know, you saw Renal and Rotzo die, so there's a possibility that she could probably come back. But my impression, the way I took it, is she died with the explosion of the factory ship. Sitch, you're asking me, do I know if Kukulope will sell the new cosmetic sets eventually? Probably eventually, yeah. I would give it maybe a month or so before she starts selling stuff from the new sets. But yeah, she will probably start selling that at some point.
You see that?
And Shro-Oki says, pretty sure Turok survived. Turok raised up after A was sent. Yeah, I definitely think Turok, the Great Lenoptrix, did survive. So, see, there's a perfect example. You see the Great Lenoptrix being attacked. You see the explosion. You see it slamming against the rocks. You see it falling down. And as it's falling down, there's a lot of arrows. I believe even some of there's holes in the wings. It's badly hurt, and it falls down with Jake. It falls down into the ocean, implying that, oh, the Great Lenoptrix is now dead, right? That's kind of like the image, like the fall of the Great Lenoptrix. But then later, you see it rising again. You see it coming back alive again, screaming as Pandora is fighting back. There it shows, Turuk is still alive. The Great Lenoptrix didn't die, unlike with Ardmore, where it's implied that she died, so we don't really know what happened. The same with Quaritch. Quaritch falls, implied that he died, but I don't think he died at all. War Robots, favorite RDA vehicle? I think to date it's still the amp suit. There's just something about the amp suit that I really love. The way it's designed, the way it moves, the way it fights in combat. I'm sad that we didn't get to see more amp suits. When I saw the amp suits at Bridget, I was like, yeah, let's go. I want to see more of the amp suits. But unfortunately, we didn't get to see more of the amp suits. I think it's just a really awesome design, and it just looks awesome on screen. I was excited to see the factory ship because I liked the Sea Dragon. So when I saw the concept art, when Empire Magazine revealed the concept art for the factory ship, I was like, oh, this thing is going to be quite a menace in the movie, but it was very underwhelming. It was there, you saw it harvesting some Tulkun, and then basically it got destroyed at the end. So it hardly did anything. I was very underwhelmed by the factory ship. Sichu saying Parker was so pointless. Yes, I agree. I was very excited to see Parker reunite with Jake, but he came back, and all his scenes, he was angry all the time. He was like a mustache twirling villain all the time. He was angry. He was raising his voice all the time, and I liked him more in the first Avatar. I feel that there were hints of him like being compassionate even in the first Avatar, but yeah, he was just evil for the sake of being evil. And I do wonder who the man in the chair is. Ardmore tells him, you mean daddy? So I do wonder if Parker's dad is the head of the RDA, and that's how Parker got his job back. His dad kind of gave him the job back. So that's an interesting thought for another time. Callum Smith, you're saying favorite Pandora creature? I would probably say the Ikran. I really love the design of the Ikran. I've always liked the Ikran from the first movie. And interestingly, when I went to the Avatar experience in Italy, not Italy, excuse me, in Spain, when I went to Spain to the Avatar experience, there's this screen where you can, it scans your face, you answer questions, and it tells you what creature on Pandora you are, and I ended up being an Ikran, so that was interesting, that was ironic. Charlotte Wood, you're saying you loved seeing Parker. He was there to show that even the suits have good motivation, and not just to kill everything, but he needed to be playing golf at some point. Yes, they also should have showed him playing golf. That would have been pretty epic if it was just playing golf. But yeah, we didn't see that. Greater Belgium, you're saying Ardmore grounded Quaritch. Yes, definitely, and it would have been interesting to see them interact with each other. But yeah, I'm probably gonna end this video soon. I can't, my voice cannot hold it out longer because I have a pretty bad cold right now. So yeah, just overall running through the movie again. I really loved Avatar: Fire and Ash. I thought the scenes were phenomenal. The action scenes were over the top. It was a lot to take in. That's why I'm saying that this movie does well with repeated viewings. Their scenes, overall the scenes doesn't really give enough time to breathe. It just happens and then you move on to the next scene. Like for example, when Ronald dies, when Rotso dies, it just happens and then it moves on to the next scene. There were no time to reflect on what happened. From the end fighting scene of Jake and Quaritch, when that's over, there's literally less than 5 minutes until the credits rolled.
What's down there?
And I was just like, there's so much that just happened, and we're not gonna reflect on anything. We're not gonna reflect. Tonowari is not gonna say anything about Ronel. Her kids is not gonna say anything. There's not gonna be a Metkayina funeral for Ronel. Excuse me, there's a cough coming up. There's not enough time to reflect on anything. The only real scene that I felt was given enough breathing time was the Spider and Jake scene, and the scene on the beach with Loak, where he pointed the gun to himself. That scene was very heavy, and I really felt that scene. Even through the second and third viewing, I was feeling really emotional during those scenes. And also the ending with the spirit world, where it shows all the characters returning. It happened way too quick. It was there and then the movie ended. I would have liked to spend a bit more time in that scene, seeing some of the characters. And also, this is a question that I have about the end part, where Grace appears. From my understanding, this is the first time that Grace and Kiri appears together after she had the seizure in The Way of Water, correct? Because they shared that scene in The Way of Water, and then Kiri was asking, like, who am I? Who's my father? Why am I like this? And then she has the seizure. And then the next scene we see of Grace and Kiri together is that scene at the end. But there was no moment of Kiri saying, like, Mother, I missed you so much, or anything like that. It was just, this is Spider, and then Grace is like, I've heard all about you, troublemaker. And I was like, okay, but shouldn't we see a scene between Grace and Kiri, maybe, especially after Kiri learned to control everything? Like, was there not anything like that? And I would have preferred if we saw. I would have liked to see Tute with Jake again. I would have liked to see their interaction. That would have been a nice return, like a reunion in a way. Because we do also see, I remember that we also see Jake and Neytiri connected to the spirit tree, and Neytiri is smiling. So she is also there in that moment. We just don't see them, I believe. I don't believe we see them, but they, from how it seems to be, they're also in that moment. So it would have been nice to see them reunite as well. But overall, the movie is fantastic. I do feel that a lot of the movie seems to have scenes missing because it jumps very quickly from scene to scene. And because there's so much happening in the movie, I also feel that it often loses sense of time. Like in the second movie, they took a whole section to travel from the forest, from the Metkayina forest, to the reef. You see them travel, and they get there, and we spend the rest of the movie there. But in Fire and Ash, they travel back and forth very quickly. It's like one scene they're at the reef, the next scene they're at the forest, then they're back again at the reef, then they're back in the forest again, then they're back at the reef, then they're at high camp. It's like, I joked to a friend of mine and I said that it feels like they unlocked fast travel in this movie, because we lose a sense of like, okay, but how much time has passed now? Because
Careful.
we see that characters has changed a little bit. Like when Loak goes on to find Payakan, when we see him eventually in the open ocean, you can see his lips is all dry, it's all cracked, and you see he has this bandana on. So he's been in the ocean for some time. But I'm like, okay, but how much time has passed now? Because he told Neytiri there's something he has to do. He goes out to find Payakan, but then it just feels that aside from when they say how many days until the calf communion, we lose a bit of how much time has passed because there's so much happening. That was one issue I also had with the movie, but that's just, again, my opinion. Shirooki, you're saying they didn't unlock fast travel. Yeah, it does feel like it, because they just jump from location to location, and I'm like, okay, but there's no sense of what had happened in between. So that's just the issue that I have, because, yeah, that's just one issue I have. Yes, the movie probably could have been longer, but there's also scenes that added not much to the movie as well. So I feel like should have focused on different things. Just me, thank you so much for doing this. No, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting my channel. I have to thank you. I thank you for taking time out of your day and being here and discussing this with me and just hanging out with me, because it's so nice to be here with all of you and talking about Avatar, talking about a passion of mine, talking about a passion of yours, and just discussing this and discussing the future of this, the possibility of where this can go. So it's so much to talk about still, about theories and what can happen, but all of that is coming in future videos. Don't worry about that. Arky is saying maybe the first trip to the reef was unfamiliar and they were delayed by the storm. Now they know where both regions are, so it's easier to travel. Yeah, of course, once you've been to a location, it's easy to get there again, and you find shorter routes to go. It's like that with anything. If I go to another city, I follow certain routes, which feels long because I don't know how to get there. But when I know how to get there, I find faster routes to go there, so it feels faster. But still, it just felt like literally. I remember them being at the reef, and then the next scene, Jake and Neytiri were by the forest, and then the next scene, they were cutting to the reef again, and then I was just like, okay, but how much I find a perfect example for like, if people ask me the question, it's like, okay, but they don't even make it clear to the average person watching the movie, and I got asked that question by some people, and they're like, yeah, but how much time, how long, like how many months takes place in this movie? And I'm like, not many, not long lot of time, because Renal is nearing delivering her baby at the beginning of this movie, so generally speaking, it cannot be months because she delivered the baby. But I just feel that the sense of scale kind of became lost, if that makes sense. What would I rate this movie out of 10? I don't really like rating systems in general, because it's easy to say, oh, this movie is a 9 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10. But it's more in terms of what you say about the context of the product. Because it's easy to go on, for example, on let's take a game, for example. You go on IGN, you see, the game is rated 6 out of 10. But now, if you read the review, the game sounds really fantastic. There's just a lot of elements that didn't work for the reviewer, but there's a lot of elements in the review that hits with you. So you try out the game and you're like, this is a 9 out of 10. So it's hard to really give a rating out of it, but it's definitely up there in ratings. But it's better for me to rate this in terms of the Avatar trilogy, like where it lands. And I think for me, it lands at number 3. This is number 3rd, and then The Way of Water is number 2nd, and the first Avatar movie would still be my favorite one out of the 3, because there's just something about that first discovery of Pandora, about that magic of learning about the world for the first time. There's just something about that I really like, about Jake's journey specifically, and that arc of Jake being a Marine, being human, transitioning to becoming Na'vi at the end of the movie, and using an avatar, and that whole, I kind of missed that. I missed that a little bit, seeing, when I saw Norm jumping into the link pod, linking to an avatar, I was like, yeah, I missed this. I missed seeing humans link up with the avatars. That's something I missed. So, but yeah, I think the first Avatar is still my favorite one. Doesn't mean The Way of Water is bad. Like I said in the beginning of this video, of this live stream, that if you have 3 incredible chocolate cakes, 3 amazing chocolate cakes, and you say, this one is your favorite one out of the 3, and this one is the second one, this one is the third one, doesn't mean the third one is a bad chocolate cake. No, not at all. It just means that it's the one you enjoyed the least out of those 3 amazing chocolate cakes. So there's an example, a comparison. But yeah, I'm working also on a spoiler review, where I go into more of the plot beats of the movie from beginning to end, and then I give my comments and thoughts on those moments. Whereas this is more just a general discussion with you guys and taking your questions on the movie. But yeah, in the end, I really enjoyed Avatar: Fire and Ash. I'm curious to see where it goes. There's a lot of thoughts and theories I have on what could happen, but I have not played much of From the Ashes. I've been a bit busy. The DLC came out yesterday, so I literally just I haven't really played much of the story. So I'm really curious in terms of where From the Ashes goes, because it takes place after Fire and Ash. So that could potentially set up the future movies, future of the franchise. So once I finish that expansion, then I will dive into more theories in terms of Avatar 4 and 5. Will I do a Let's Play of the DLC? I was thinking about it, but I just need to find the time because Christmas is around the corner. I have a lot of things I need to do before that, and the DLC is long, so there's a lot to do. Philgan, you asked me, excuse me, I cannot read tonight. Do you think you'll ever drop merch in the future? I've been thinking about it, but I would need to take more time into designing some stuff, because I have some rough things that I've just drawn out myself, but I've thought about it. Let me put it that way. I've thought about it. Side note, I love your channel and content so much. Please never stop making videos. Thank you so much for commenting, liking, being here. Like I said, even if you dislike videos, just leave me a comment saying why you dislike the video so I can improve on the videos. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate every person that's here. I really appreciate everybody taking time out of the day, being here in the comments, chatting with me. Means so much to me. It means so much that everybody's just talking about something that everybody loves. Even if we disagree on what we like about certain things, about the movies, about the characters, it's just nice that we all can talk about it in a way where it's not like, okay, but we can all see each other's point of view. That's what I like about this franchise so much. But yes, you may like this character's choices, you might like that character's choices, you might disagree on this, but we can all have a conversation about it, and that's what I love so much. It's like there's no anger towards each other, and I really love that about this community and about all of you guys being here. So thank you so much. In terms of unanswered questions, I will talk about it in future videos. And does anyone want to see a director's cut of Avatar Fire and Ash? James Cameron certainly does, because I uploaded a short recently where Cameron talked in an interview with Collider that he's thinking about doing a director's cut because there were 20 to 30 minutes cut from the movie. So we might see one in the future. Do I spot any Frontiers of Pandora references in the movie? Not that I can recall. I'll need to watch it again when it comes out. Like, I need to watch it literally like scene by scene when it comes out on Blu-ray and 4K next year. But I don't recall any references to Frontiers of Pandora. Siege, thank you so much for your kind words. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody being here. Like I said, I'm working on a long spoiler review. That'll be out maybe tomorrow if I can collect my voice again. But hopefully I'll have that out tomorrow, and I'll bring a lot of reviews on the packs for Frontiers of Pandora, and hopefully by next week, if I finish From the Ashes in time, I will have a review out for that as well. But like I said, I'm working on a lot of lore videos and some videos that I don't want to spoil just yet, but character specific videos, maybe some timeline videos, but see. Again, I don't want to spoil that, but thank you so much for everybody being here. Thank you so much for being in the comments, and for those of you who has seen the movie, I hope you guys watch it a second time, because like I said, there is a lot more that you take in the second time. Because when I walked out of the theater, I keep talking. I need to wrap up the stream soon. When I walked out of the theater the first time after seeing Fire and Ash, I felt somewhat mixed, but in a positive way. But also I was just very mixed. When I watched the movie the second time, I felt more clear about the movie. And now after seeing it a third time, and I'm going to see it a fourth time in 40X, and I'm going to see it in ScreenX as well. After seeing it a third time, I felt much better about the movie, because every time there's more to take in. I sat with the emotions more. I took in every character's choices and feelings more. So this movie definitely benefits from watching it again. So I highly recommend, if you watch it once, it needs another watch, definitely. But I hope you guys have a fantastic Sunday. And if I don't do another live stream before Christmas, Merry Christmas to everybody. I hope you have a fantastic time, whatever you are doing this Christmas. And again, thank you so much for hanging out here in the chat, being with me and just chatting everything Avatar related. Until next time, have a fantastic day and stay safe.